These are the 3 simple tips that beginner property investors need to take into consideration before they start with their property portfolio.
If you did not know where to start, make sure that you watch until the end of this video.
Let's kick it up with the first point. The first point is perform due diligence. Now, performing due diligence, a lot of people are thinking that, okay, what is due diligence? Due diligence is basically you going to the property and understanding that what still needs to be fixed on the property. Now, understanding what still needs to be fixed on the property will give you an idea of how much should you actually have in cash, so that when you go into your property or when you move into your new property, you understand that how much do you need to actually fix the minor touches on that property. Now, when we're speaking due diligence, we're not only speaking on the side of the fixing, we're also speaking on the side of the cash flow that you would be receiving. I remember there was a time whereby we were in a situation, we bought this property, the tenant or the person that owns the property told us that that property would be cash flowing 6,000 on a monthly basis. Now, this was divided into 2, where the main house was actually giving them 4,000 rand, and then there was a cottage that was giving them 2,000 rand. Now, we were happy with this because the property made sense. Now, when we bought the property and the property was registered into our name, we only found out that this guy wasn't paying 4,000 bucks. He was paying 2,500. This guy was only paying 1,000 rand, which now amounts to 3,500. Looking at this, it's actually minus 2,500 on a monthly basis, which makes this a bad deal to go into. So now, what are we saying? How do we actually make sure that we don't go into this mistake? What we are saying is that go and ask for a lease agreement from the tenant. Now, if the lease agreement says that they are actually collecting the 6,000, you can actually take them forward that this is not what we agreed upon. However, at that time, we didn't ask for the lease agreement, hence we found ourselves in this situation. So the last part about due diligence is getting an approved plan. I cannot put more emphasis on this. Getting an approved plan will give you an idea of what the property needs to look like. Someone might say that, hey guys, I don't actually need an approved plan. I'm okay with the property because I love this property. And that's good. However, what happens when you need to sell the property? Now, we were also in another situation whereby this property that we bought didn't have an approved plan. Now that we do not have an approved plan of the property, we were now forced to actually get an approved plan. Now, getting an approved plan is not easy because remember, you had to get an architect that will make sure that that property is actually structured correctly. Now, lucky for us, the property was structured correctly. Imagine if it was not structured correctly. This might mean that we needed to demolish that whole part that is not on the plan.
Point number 2 is the rental income potential. So, with rental income potential, we need to be asking ourselves one key question, is that why are we buying this property? If we are buying this property for cash flow reasons, then that's good. Now, we then need to study that market. A lot of people do not study the market. So what am I saying when I'm saying study the market? We need to understand how much are the 3 bedrooms renting out for? How much are the 2 bedroom renting out for? How much are the 1 bedroom houses renting out for? Most importantly, we also need to understand when it comes to our cottages, how much do they rent out for? Because remember something, right? There's a difference between a cottage and also when you're looking at a room that doesn't have a bathroom versus a one that has one. And also when it comes to a sharing situation, and this is for the multi-let guys, is that sometimes we buy into multi-let thinking that our price for rental, we are going to be charging 5.5 for each unit, only to find out that now once we look at standalone house, they are renting it out for 5.5. Now I have a house that I want to buy that's a multi-let that has units at the back and everybody will be sharing the same space. I need to be cognizant that I cannot now charge the same as the guy on the left, because now the difference is that these guys will be sharing the space. Now what happens is that sometimes you find an investor who's like, you know what, I'm in love with my property. I'm going to put the best taps. I'm going to paint it with the best paint. Then you find out that your total investment was a lot because you wanted it to be aesthetically pleasing. Then now you want to put a price on it whereby your tenants need to be paying about 10,000, only to find out that it is not realistic in that market. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to the rental income potential, we need to be realistic by understanding what are the comparables around. So once you understand that my competitors around here are charging about 5,000, then I also know that I can place my property at maybe, let's say, 5.2 or 4.9. But we've also seen a situation whereby a client of ours put their property at a high in a township. So now the question was more of why are they really placing it at that high? Now the thing was demand. Remember you running away from economics class? Now it's coming back to you. We need to understand supply and demand. If I'm in a situation whereby, yes, it's in the township, however, my property is located next to an amenity that has people whereby they're willing to pay, then why not? But again, do not be unrealistic when it comes to placing that rental income.
So now let's go on to number 3. So now when you're looking at number 3, we are looking at planning for contingency, right? Planning for contingency. So what I mean by this is that if something was to go wrong, what would then happen? So we have a couple of things that we are doing or that we do when we're saying that we are planning for contingency. So there is a contingency plan for if anything goes wrong on the property, then what happens? So stuff like insurance, having an insurance on the property actually helps you to be in a situation whereby if anything goes bad on the property, we know that the insurance guys will actually cover that. Another contingency that we also hold is something that's called a maintenance amount. So the maintenance amount would basically be saying that if we are collecting monthly income, we are putting away a certain portion on a monthly basis in case something wrong happens, number one, or number two, in case if the tenant actually leaves the property. Now, if they actually leave the property and we have been actually collecting this maintenance, we can use this maintenance amount and it doesn't actually have to be paid by us. Talking about separating yourself from the company, this is how we do it, man.
Looking at contingency in its simplest form, we are saying option B. So yes, if I bought the property for rental purposes and I knew that I'm renting it out to young adults, I need to then understand what is the contingency plan. So contingency plan is then my plan B. If rental didn't work out, can I resell? That's something that we really need to focus on. So hence we are saying that for every property investor, as much as you might love rental, you need to also understand flipping, because now when it comes to selling, what would you have done? You would have flipped that property. Now that's where we come in as Non-Wealth, because we offer services whereby we sit down with beginner and people that feel stuck, that how can we then help you to understand the basics when it comes to property investing.
Now with that being said, I hope that you got value from this video, and if you got enough value, make sure that you subscribe and like this video. Post down comments on what your thoughts are and what you'd want to know from us.
Invest like a pro with Non-Wealth.